Everyone, to another episode of the Movie Date with Rob and Matt, a podcast for people who like movies but don't want to be too smug about it. We're in for another one of our fabled bonus episodes.
Yeah,
I say fabled. There's like two of them.
Well, yeah, and this is this is just going to be kind of your standard cut down usual movie episode, but it's for an older
With
movie.
less beginning stuff.
Yeah. We've just had a recent episode, so not much movie news has passed in the time that we were in the studio beforehand.
So
unless there's something you've noticed recently.
Zack Snyder tweeted out the first official image of Darkseid in Justice League.
Okay.
It's the same as the black and white one he released like last year. It's if I can pull it up here. I'm gonna edit this out. Why didn't I do this when I was getting?
Huh.
But it's the same one, but it's just color.
It kind of just looks like one of the shots of Steppenwolf.
I mean, that's literally what it is.
Yeah.
Because what happened was like that was Darkseid and they superimposed Steppenwolf over.
Oh, okay. Because
So
they're like, because Darkseid's only mentioned once
in the movie.
In the movie, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
It's not even.
It's ADR almost.
It's ADR. You're just like,
it's
can you just go
we'll
for
do
Darkseid?
Yeah, it's like we'll do this for Darkseid.
And he just says he's coming to HBO Max and
Darkseid is?
Yeah.
Well, yes, he is.
Well, yeah, because,
he is coming to HBO Max.
But and then some guy beneath him said, "We'll still be trash." Always keeping it classy in Snyder's Twitter comments. Anyway, but yeah. So that's the only piece of news that I saw.
Well, I didn't. I only caught this headline, but I didn't really read the rest of it. Is that it's apparently. It's going to be a big expense for HBO Max.
Yes, they gave him $30 million, but on a podcast, the head of I think it's HBO Max or AT&T Warner Media or whatever said, and he goes, "I wish it was just $30 million," implying that it's probably going to be more than that.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think that's more of the kind of nervous media eyes who are like, well, this is going to be an expensive endeavor.
Yeah, I agree with that. Can we? I also wanted to. One of the things that I wanted to do before we did this episode, before we review this movie,
right?
Because
we're talking about the
Justice League, if you want to call it that.
the Zack Snyder / Joss Whedon Justice League from 2017.
The theatrical cut of Justice
The theatrical
League.
cut. I saw it for the first time, and we gotta have an episode.
I gave him that Voodoo account, people.
Yeah.
He watched all my movies last night, I'm sure. I actually, when me and my lady were rewatching Game of Thrones, and I saw Justice League, and I saw your thing.
Yeah,
I was like,
there it
Matt.
is.
He's doing it right now. But before we talk about this,
yes.
I want to actually go through the trailers and see. So you will have a reference for what is in the version that you saw and what shots are not, because there's quite a few of them. Boom,
right.
The magic of editing.
We're back.
Matt has seen the trailers.
Yes. So now got a little more context going into our discussion, because that's essentially what
I showed him everything
into
except the 2017 Comic-Con trailer, which is the longest trailer and has even more stuff in it. But it's also my favorite trailer by chance, because we actually hear Steppenwolf speak. And there's a line in that trailer that is not in the theatrical cut where like Hippolyta says something is coming, and the boom tube opens up and Steppenwolf drops in for the first time. And then right as the trailer cuts, he goes, "No protectors here." And he goes, "No lanterns, no Kryptonians. This world will fall like all the others." That is not in the is not in the theatrical cut. The rumor is he is speaking to either Hegra in the mother box, which is Darkseid's mother, or he's speaking to Darkseid himself for that scene. Also, the actor who plays Darkseid went on a podcast yesterday and talked about his experience and stuff, and what it was like. He confirmed he didn't just do the voice; he dressed up in a mocap suit and did the.
Wait, Darkseid or Steppenwolf?
No, Darkseid. Ray Porter is the actor who plays Darkseid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's mostly like a voice actor and does like a lot of audiobooks, but he's been in a few movies and TV shows. He was in like several episodes of
So they didn't
Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
That's one thing is they didn't really go in on a lot of like for a lot of these side characters or things like bigger names is very much like professional. It was just, because you get
This is Ray Fisher's first movie as Cyborg.
Well, I remember I was like Ray Fisher. I was like, he's really good in this.
He also did He was Muhammad Ali on Broadway.
Like he was also Mahershala Ali's son in the new True Detective.
Season 3. That's right.
And I was like, that's where I've seen him before, because he's great in that.
Yeah.
Him and Ali have a lot of great back and forth. He's a really good actor.
Yeah.
We'll get into that, obviously. So
I think he's even good in the theatrical cut of Justice League. He's one of my favorite parts.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really need to talk about the plot, do we?
We can trace it a little bit, but I guess first, like I asked you to see it last night, so we could have at least squeeze some more content out of this.
Right,
I'm cynical enough to do that.
Yeah, I'm giving us because right now, there's not movies coming out in theaters, so we're kind of in a lull of new material. So
yeah, me and Sarah, they were having a sale on Fandango last night, and it was. There was like get all your favorite stuff for 99 cents or whatever. So we bought like a bunch of. I bought the color of from outer space or whatever.
Oh, the color out of time.
HP, yeah.
Color out of space. Yeah,
it's the H.P. Lovecraft one with Nicolas Cage. We got it for like
it's the Richard Stanley.
We're gonna do Ford versus Ferrari, Robert Pattinson, and High Life. We rented a bunch of cool movies for.
I noticed a few of them. I'm like, oh, that looks interesting.
So I asked you to watch it, and I will show my cards a little early here. I have seen this movie several times because I saw it in theaters twice because I'm a dutiful DC fan, and I want to support the franchise so I get more of it or whatever. I have mellowed a lot as this movie has aged. I do not have a lot of venom for it. I find it to be mostly vapid, empty calories.
I was gonna say I like it a lot more than the first time I saw BVS.
Yeah.
I found it much more approachable.
Of course. It's almost so approachable that you don't feel anything at the end of it.
It's offensiveless. It's fine.
As I said, it's the Birds of Prey thing. Like it doesn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of nothing to me.
I liked the first acts better than the finale. Because my biggest issue with it is just kind of the general plot. Yeah. Which I know, like, it just felt so basic and so generic.
Yeah. And that's because Joss Whedon was given a can't be over 2 hours decree.
Right. And it doesn't help that it was. I'm assuming for no fault of its own, going up against when Infinity War came out.
It's a few months before. Thor Ragnarok came out 2 weeks after it, I believe.
Because it's got a very similar setup, and I think those are very clear connections there. I don't want to talk about the Marvel side of it too much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is very analogous to the first Avengers. Getting together to fight alien.
And there are objects to get, there are MacGuffins to get. Yeah. Of course, they do things.
One of which is gotten because they just leave it on top of a car.
We were talking about that as they're watching it. And I was, we were in there just like...
Steppenwolf just picks it up, and you don't even see Steppenwolf.
No, you just see the thing, and I literally, he was just like, well, I'll take this.
Drop the ball there.
He just yoinked it. And I was because my roommate was sitting there just like, don't forget that mother box. Hey, guys, that mother box is important. And I'm like, yeah, but like Superman's trying to kill them. That's kind of important.
Yeah.
And then you see it go away. I'm like, oh.
Also a scene I enjoyed for the most part. Superman fighting the League.
That was dope.
It was pretty cool.
That was dope. I liked it.
I don't like
Cavill's pretty scary sometimes.
Yeah, I don't like the mustachioed, tell me, do you bleed? It felt like Joss Whedon adding that for like, oh, remember in the last movie where like, yeah. I don't deny that
it seemed weird, especially if he forgot everything else. He's like, but I remember you.
Yeah. In fact, there have been fan edits where they went online before the Snyder Cut was such a hyped up thing, where they took pieces from the trailers and from Batman v Superman and they put it in the movie. I have a fan cut of this movie that's 2 hours and 17 minutes long, where they add like when Superman wakes up and he sees Batman in that moment when he's like makes a beeline for him in the fight, they intercut shots of like Ben Affleck like here I am in the in BVS when he tries to kill him, and there's like oh shit, and I was like that would have been smart. Why didn't they do that in the movie? Like,
yeah,
you never know. Like it's weird how
I think they were trying to keep. It felt like they were just trying to keep as many scenes original as possible.
Yeah, it's weird to me that like fans made more enjoyable viewers of this movie after the movie came out. The fan edits and stuff are very strange.
That seems to be its legacy up until next year when we get the cut. So the film is essentially,
like I said, I don't have venom for it. I don't deny it's more approachable, but I also do not like it more than Batman v Superman. Not even close.
Well, I mean, I like the director's cut of BVS more than I like this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say I like the theatrical too, but like,
yeah, but I've liked this. I was more like, oh, I get what this movie is. I get who this movie's for upon watching it.
Yeah, so do I.
So the film is essentially Superman, Clark Kent has died fighting Doomsday.
Yeah. He went out in the 12th round like a real G.
Yeah, and one thing I really like, this is very Snyder. This is something Snyder does very well, is the opening parts where they're doing the cover of the Leonard Cohen. Everybody knows it's a great song. It's one of my favorite songs.
By Sigrid, and that is actually, I believe, a Joss Whedon thing.
Really?
I think
it feels very Snyder.
It does. I think that the idea was like we're trying to like they wanted it to still have that kind of feel because it's very opening of Watchmen, or even the opening of BVS where they have that Zimmer score and they kind of show you a history of something or they can tell a quick brief story.
He does that with almost all of his movies. He is great in Watchmen. It's great in
Except Man of Steel.
Dawn of the Dead because they open with that Johnny Cash song.
300 even doesn't have a song, but it's like it's a condensed version of a story.
Yes,
it's Delios telling the story, and then you get to
it. So that's kind of Snyder's sort of deal. So I thought that's what it was, but I mean, the opening of the movie is I can't recall.
The very opening of the movie is Batman on the rooftop with the criminal.
Right. That also, which feels very kind of classic.
It does,
and it's a good setup because it's just like there's some crook there, crooking around.
Who he leaves, on the rooftop.
He leaves him wrapped up. He gets him. He's essentially just like almost it's like you'll do because he's getting him to bait one of the scouts, one of the parademons out for fear.
You know how I know this is a Whedon instance because of the theme of fear. Yeah. Because at the end of the movie, and we'll trace the plot a little more. We're jumping around a lot, but the parademons kill Steppenwolf.
Yes.
In this version.
I said that, and this is a deep cut reference. Yeah. I said they got him like Dr. Screw Eyes from the cartoon movie We're Back, a Dinosaur Story. Yeah. You remember that one where the ravens cover him and there's nothing left but his eye afterwards? I was like, that's like That's like the end of that movie, and that's also about fear.
Yeah, I really hate the way Kieran Hines is portrayed in this movie as Steppenwolf.
Yeah, it's really I love Kieran or Syrian, Mr. Hines. He's a great actor. He's a great actor.
Loved him as Mance Rayder. Watching him right now as
He's
Mance
great
Rayder.
as Mance Rayder. He's great in he's great in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy as one of the many British character actors in that.
Munich.
He's great in Munich.
Road to Perdition before he gets shot in the face.
I haven't seen Road to Perdition, but I know he got shot in the face now. And he's great in The Terror, which is a really good AMC show. Yeah.
He's in this movie he has said like I don't know what that movie was. I worked way harder on. I hope the director's cut gets released. So he's been very vocal about it.
Good for him because he
goes out like a real bitch in this movie.
Well, he's very intense in it. It is kind of like you can make those Thanos connections there.
Yeah, there are moments that I like with him, like little pieces of dialogue and stuff. Like I will show you the righteousness of power.
Well, that line when he comes to Wonder Woman, he's like,
the blood of the old gods in you or whatever.
Or he's like, my axe is still fresh with the blood of your sisters.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh man, he's a rough customer.
Yeah, the version that Snyder pitched was a little more tragic and a little more like he is enslaved to Darkseid and is desperately trying to flee.
Yeah, with the lack of Darkseid's influence in this movie, even beyond just one line, essentially, it's very hard to see anything else unless you don't like. If you came in knowing nothing, then you'd just be like, well, it's just this Steppenwolf fella.
So do you want me to tell you the way he goes out in Snyder's version because it's been confirmed, or do you want to save it?
Let's save it to the end. Let's go ahead and just kind of get the synopsis wrapped up. So essentially, it's a get the gang together. We found out at the end of Batman versus Superman that Lex Luthor, who is imprisoned, his plans thwarted.
Did you watch the post-credit scene?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
His plans thwarted. He's in prison. But he was looking for other special people, other metahumans, and so we now know who those people are, and obviously Diana is one of them, Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Superman, who is passed.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, who's not, but he's kind of the guy who's in charge right now.
Yeah.
But we learned of the three other ones: Arthur Curry, who is the Aquaman.
Barry Allen,
who doesn't get called the Flash, but he's the Flash. Come on now, he even built his own suit.
Although there are parts where he's called. If you look at like in BVS, if you look at Lex Luthor's little squares or whatever. His one calls him the Red Streak, which is what he's called in the TV show and in the comics sometimes before he takes like the moniker. Like the people call him the Red Streak. No, that was pretty cool.
That checks out. And Victor Stone, who is also deceased, but has been brought back by his father, played by Joe Morton, who Joe Morton's great in everything.
Terminator 2.
Yeah. Yeah, he's amazing in that movie. He's great in everything.
And he brings him back using a mother box they found.
After a tragedy. And funny enough, by the end of the movie, I made this comment where I'm like, this movie is kind of a lot of Cyborg's movie. Like, he's a major part of the story, more than a lot of the other characters are.
Zack Snyder says, and Ray Fisher has been like, they cut a lot of my stuff with his mother, that scene where he plays football and stuff.
Because we see that in like background material after he was killed in this accident, which is one of my favorite other parts is at the end when
Amy Adams gives the cliche speech of darkness and light, and then they're all going off back to their corners. Yeah.
Well, no, it's when they're exhuming Superman. Oh, and he turns to Barry and he says, "Well, you got struck by lightning." He's like, "Yeah, it's more complicated than that. What about you?" Explosion. Oh, so we're the accidents.
Yeah.
And it's a great little moment of them being like, "Yeah, we're the accidents."
Yeah.
But that's all you really know. Him and Victor and his mother died in some kind of accident.
Yeah.
Very little information is given on it. Obviously, there's definitely going to be more that was left on the cutting room floor. But it's something that his father, Dr. Stone, Silas Stone, felt the need to bring him back for. And now he is a walking computer that has a lot of great powers, but he's kind of just stuck between his angst about being alive and his ultra powers. I
have two thoughts about Cyborg in this movie. That's all. I agree with all that what you said as well. I think under Snyder's direction, he is much more, the acting is better, and he's much more compelling. The first scene we meet him in is a Snyder scene.
That's when Dr. Stone...
He's in the hoodie and says, Victor, like, you can have a life. If you just stay up here brooding all the time, then you're going to... That scene, I really felt like a lot of anguish for Cyborg. And he plays a really great, moody teenager.
Yeah, because that's the thing is he's balancing being that and also being this now extremely omnipotent cyber being.
Yeah.
He's got two minds living in him.
Yeah, and worrying about, is he the next wave of an alien invasion or something?
Right, which that element plus the element later where he can't control his powers, definitely not gone into enough.
Yeah. There's a expanded version of that Zack talks about where he attacks Superman, essentially.
Yes, because it's like he charges up when Superman comes back, and I'm like, that really wasn't laid out.
Yeah.
The idea of his instability with this power, because should be a huge dramatic crux, because it's not an issue that Aquaman deals with. Of course, Aquaman has his own movie now, but sans that movie, he's kind of just a cool guy who's just like, hey, keep me out of this. I'm Jason Momoa. I'm hanging out in Iceland. I don't want anything to do with anybody.
Yeah. He's a righteous dude.
Yeah, he's just a righteous dude who helps the fishermen and doesn't want to get involved.
Also, no Willem Dafoe in this movie.
No Willem Dafoe.
Because he did film all his scenes, and none of them are in the trailers either. So,
yeah, that's the only other person in it is Amber Heard.
Yeah,
who I'm guessing will not be returning due to her being a trash monster.
Yeah, but she is an Aquaman.
She is an Aquaman. She is Mira in Aquaman and had some other material, but I doubt she'll be returning.
Yeah, but Bruce Wayne he's trying to get the team together.
Yep,
and he's
working with Wonder Woman. He's working with Diana.
Yeah, and they're going around trying to bring together Victor Stone and Barry Allen, who is all too enthusiastic to join.
Yeah, his big emotional crux is his father, played by
Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan, played by Billy Crudup, which I was like, oh, Billy Crudup. Yeah. He's a Snyder character now.
Yeah.
Is in prison for murder, and he's just kind of like, you need to make a life for yourself. So he's kind of this aimless Ezra Miller. He's delightful. Love him in this.
Yeah,
but because of his powers, he has definitely made a life for himself, but it's an unconventional, out of the law.
Yeah, there's a little line where he says, like, you're doing 2 jobs, going on 3. It's like, where do you have the time? He goes, I make the time. I was like, yeah, because he has super speed.
Yeah, super speed. He's the greatest deliveryman of all time.
Yeah. And Yeah, I think out of all the people in this movie, I might like him the least, just because I think he
Really?
is.
Okay.
I think he's fun. I think he has a couple of jokes, I guess, but I found him to be the most of like the empty calories.
He's got the least amount of emotional stake involved in this, but
which is
he's
unfortunate because in Snyder's version, he turns back time.
Right.
To save the lead.
And I think I know which scene that was supposed to be set in.
What do you think? Give me your. See how good your.
During the Superman
vision.
fight?
No, it's during the third act. So when Cyborg, it's kind of a cool crux because it makes an arc for Cyborg and for the Flash. When Cyborg jacks into the box, he sees the nightmare world from BVS.
Okay.
He sees the potential future of what could come. And it's that scene when in that trailer when you see him look up to the sky and scream. It's what he sees, and I think he screams Barry because the box explodes,
right? Because
kills them all,
right?
And then Barry, that scene where he's running through the lightning, that's him rewinding the clock.
Going back.
I think Snyder says he kind of does it on accident. He doesn't know he can do it, and then he does it, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm back an hour ago or whatever."
Right,
and
he does it out of panic, and he's like, because he's doing something that Superman, at least from the movie, the original movie, the first '70s movie does,
exactly,
which is like speed time, go back fast enough.
So that's a cool arc for him as he discovers a burgeoning power that would set up like his Flashpoint or Flash Solo movie, or whatever.
Because he could have some more material to work with, but he's kind of the least amount of stakes because we see the Themyscira get attacked by Steppenwolf at the beginning because they have one of the mother boxes.
Yeah.
A lot of Amazonians get murdered by Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
And so we set the stakes for Diana knowing that, oh my God, this ancient evil is back.
Right. One thing I will note about this movie is the pace is very stagnant. There are no peaks and valleys. It kind of just goes.
I almost wish playing at the whole, like, if it was my movie sort of deal, I would have had more little arcs for each of them to do leading up to something by themselves. Like, I love the scene with and it fits thematically in where those nihilistic terrorists take those hostages at the museum, and they're like, "Well, there's no Superman anymore." So
apparently, that scene in the Snyder version does not end quite so happily. Apparently you see that explosion where the cops duck down.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be there's another bomb or whatever that goes off, and she does not save all of them.
Right.
Or something.
Well,
Rumor is, I could be wrong.
But that's like, oh, that's interesting. And you get to see Wonder Woman do some stuff. But that's kind of the only situation aside from Batman's fighting that guy off. Because you also get a great line from the thug that gets wrapped up to be the thing for the paratrooper or the parademon, and he says like, so he's dead, the Superman, and
this is all because of him, right?
This is all because of him, right? That's why they're coming, and it feels like a scene from a comic book where it's like action happens.
It is a scene from the comic book.
Action happens, and then the guy, you can see the panels in the distance, like, hey, it's because he's gone, right?
Yeah.
And then Batman disappears off into the dark. It's
also like that is like a Jeff Johns scene from his first issue of Justice League in New 52 is where the creature explodes and you see the three boxes.
Yes.
In the comic book, that's not what happened. In the comic book, they catch the parademon planting a mother box to bring over more parademons or whatever, and right before it kills itself, it says for dark side, and then it kills itself. So it's kind of reminiscent of that. Let's trace the plot some more. So he goes to Aquaman. Aquaman says get fucked. Then he comes back. Barry says or he meets Diana and says we need to bring. We need warriors. There's an enemy coming, and she goes, it's not coming. It's already here because by this point, Steppenwolf has already attacked Themyscira, and what is a pretty good chase sequence.
Yeah, some good passing the material off to one another and everything.
They seem outmatched for sure, but it was fun watching them lose in a way. Mm-hmm. So she's already seen that coming, and then we get what I would say is the scene that I like the most in this movie, which is Justice League 10,000 BC, baby. We get the history lesson, which apparently in Snyder's version is much longer, and a lot more stuff goes down.
It felt two things to me. I liked what was in it, but I wish it had more context because it felt very, this is the part of the movie where we need exposition dump.
Yeah.
And I was like, the movie wasn't kind of like that before, but now it's kind of like, let me tell you a lore.
Yeah.
It also felt a lot like Lord of the Rings for a minute.
Yeah.
Which I think
I agree.
Because there's a big Mordor-looking stage. They're talking about this was given to the race of Amazon, the race of men, and I even turned like, and 9 rings were given.
Yeah, and I think Snyder, the rumor was he wanted to open his movie with this.
That would have been way better.
Yeah.
That would have been way better, because that way you get that exposition out of the way and it's not so clunky.
Yeah.
Because it's a great
And you get some
fun
dope
scene.
300 style action scenes.
Yep.
You see the old Greek gods. You see Zeus and Artemis and Ares fight Steppenwolf.
And you see that all of their powers are all represented later on by other superheroes, by our metahumans.
We see a Green Lantern.
We see a lantern.
He gets killed.
Yep. It looked like Kilowog.
No, I think it's Yog Coral or something like that. He's one of like the older Green Lanterns in the comic
because he
books
gets
or
killed and you see that little ring fly off and go away, and
Great
it's like,
little
bye
Easter
bye,
egg stuff.
bye bye, green ring, bye bye ring.
Yeah, and so we have a great little throwdown. I liked the witches as they summon the Unity or whatever with the mother boxes. That was cool. It's a lot of great, just fun
visual elements
that you can just like watch and enjoy, and then it just sets up a really great thing to be like mirrored later. The Age of Heroes will never come again.
And it's also kind of like, because Darkseid's involvement felt so post-production.
Yeah.
The justification for Steppenwolf's actions was he just wanted to turn worlds just like his
destroys worlds.
He just destroys worlds as a conqueror to make them like his own hellish homeworld. You know, like that's not a good enough justification. But apparently his defeat at the hands of this old, now broken alliance of man, Amazonians, Atlanteans, and they don't say Kryptonians, but apparently in the cut, Kryptonians are brought up because of when he first fights Clark, I got the feel that he's never dealt with Kryptonians before.
No, in fact, there's that line from earlier where he says, the fact that there are no Kryptonians here seems to be a selling point for the fact that they'll invade Earth.
Right.
Yeah, the lack of Darkseid hurts his motivations as well because it makes him a less interesting villain.
Yeah.
But I did like that scene, and I like the design. I think he's a cool, creepy looking like alien.
He's
like it's one half old armor and one half crazy space alien or whatever.
He's got a cool weapon and everything, and he's intimidating, and even though Sarian Hines is kind of just underneath a lot of CGI, he's got the voice, he's doing it.
Yeah.
You know.
Not
a bad choice.
That scene happens, and then Wonder Woman reaches out to Cyborg, and there's a little bit of push and pull with them, like her getting him to like show up and fight with them
because he's able to connect with them, because his part of his power is he just can hack into anything, whether he wants to or not. So you can see, like, as he's looking through this 3D LED things coming out of his hands, he's like, oh, there's this person. That's Batman.
Yeah.
And he has access to all the security that they have.
Yeah.
So he's able to put those together and is able to send them a message basically like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
Because I know everything about you. They're like, well, we want to know about
scene,
you.
very much like, do you want to play a game?
Yeah, because he texts them essentially.
Yeah, and I definitely felt like his powers don't get enough explanation. There's parts where in Snyder's version you see him learn to fly, like that scene where the mask goes over his face or whatever.
Because you just see him hover a little bit, and it's a good line because he's talking to his dad and he says like essentially like, I don't know when I'm gonna be tomorrow.
Yeah, I couldn't do that last night.
Yeah, I couldn't do that last night, so I'm changing, which is a good line. And
so we have a little bit of like rough getting them together. They're only able to get like and speaking of like mini arcs for everybody, there is supposed to be a part where Aquaman's arc is where, if you notice in the history lesson, the king of the Atlanteans is wearing the suit that Aquaman wears later. So Aquaman goes to, I believe, get his trident from Willem Dafoe, like his mother's trident or whatever, and he gets to, which is not the same trident he uses in Aquaman's movie, which is the King Atlan's trident. And he goes to get the old Atlantean armor, and that's what he wears.
Okay.
When he turns it on, we don't see that. We just see him show up with his stuff already there.
He's
whatever.
got the full loadout.
Which I thought would have been a nice Excalibur-y moment as he takes his like first step into being like a warrior for good or whatever. And we get a all right action sequence, and the best part of it is like in the big tunnel or whatever, when the Flash slows everything down. Like that was pretty cool. And they kind of get their butt whooped by Steppenwolf, and they retreat, and then Aquaman shows up and stops the water and lets them kind of
right, because they track him down to like the Gotham Reservoir, and he's like pops everything, and he's just like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, and also we know Joe Morton lives through this movie.
Yes,
where in the Snyder cut, I believe that does not happen.
They kill him off.
In fact, we see Steppenwolf at Star Labs with a mother box, so I think that's how he gets one of them.
Because they take hostages.
Yeah.
To use for fear, like that's the line is like the Steppenwolf's like killing a couple of scientists, and he's just like, my parademons will, feed off your fear.
Yeah,
something along those lines. We also learn the parademons are essentially kind of similar to, like they're essentially turned former warriors.
Essentially, yeah,
who have just kind of turned into demons with cool like cyber biopunk goggles and stuff. They got a dope line.
Yeah,
look.
Very Jack Kirby Fourth World stuff. But I don't like the fact that they can just turn on him at a moment's notice just because he's afraid.
Yeah.
Because no matter how afraid they would be of him or whatever, Darkseid would take no shit for something like that. So it felt like it undercuts the fact that his soldiers are just worthless cannon fodder. They should be like, to him, he cares so little about them. They are worthless cannon fodder, but like they would never turn on him.
Right.
Or whatever.
I think something that probably would have helped this movie a little bit, and it's just throwing things out, is if there were varying types of these parademons. Like we see some grunts early on, and then like advanced grunts, and then each one presents a new level of strategy to have to fight against for every time they show up.
Yeah.
Because mostly it's just bugs. They even say even Batman has a great line where he's like, fine off, like, come on, follow me, you damn insects.
Yeah. There's a so after they managed to get one of the mother boxes out of there,
because there are 3 mother boxes.
3 of them.
Yeah.
He has
one given to the race of man. Yeah, hidden somewhere.
Yeah, he has 2. He gets the one from Atlantis, which is what bring Aquaman into the fold.
Right, and he gets the one from
Amazon
Themyscira
first.
Yes.
And then Cyborg manages to rescue the one from Man before he does anything with it, which I bet is an edit out.
Yeah, because he just kind of comes back with it, and we don't know where it was.
Yeah.
He said it was the lore has it that it was hidden from all knowledge.
Yeah.
So even man can't find it.
Well, what happened was in the end of Wonder Woman, there's like it's not a post-credit scene, but the bonus scene is that the soldiers from Wonder Woman, Chris Pine's team, they dig it up with Etta Candy.
Oh.
And then eventually Star Labs gets hold of it.
That makes more sense.
But then they decide we're going to use the mother box to bring Superman back, and they bring Superman back, and then he kind of is like out of it, and they have a big cool fight with him.
Yeah.
And
Superman comes back. He keeps his pants on, but got to show that jacked
right
Henry Cavill
headbutts Wonder Woman. It's pretty good.
Yeah, he's scary in this. Like he shows up like at his memorial still, and that memorial just gets destroyed. Yeah. I do like the one. He
throws his head at Wonder Woman.
That's pretty great. I do like the one cop who's still holding a gun at Superman. I would have been like, yeah, this isn't gonna work.
There's definitely some good stuff out of that.
Yeah. But that's where you get the mother box ends up on the car, and he really just kind of swooshes in and yoink and takes it away.
Yeah, which felt so painfully obvious. Like that's a reshoot. They just like Wonder Woman ADR's over. Like he has all 3 now. Like,
and they can just CGI the blue thing coming down. And
I was like, what happens is he probably attacks Star Labs, Steppenwolf, and he incinerates Cyborg's dad,
right,
giving him more anguish and pain for Ray Fisher which is probably why we see him crying in the trailer,
right,
and stuff. So like that's stuff that I'm like, oh, we missed a real opportunity to have like a great performance and overcoming arc for him
and vengeance and a desire for vengeance.
Yeah, and I think because
at this time also, Steppenwolf and his posse have set up shop at some Russian Ukrainian
Chernobyl thingy.
Yeah, it's kind of a Russian Ukrainian Chernobyl sort of thing, and all of a sudden we kind of have like a small arc of this little Russian family.
That's Joss Whedon.
That feels very Whedon.
Someone added like, hey, what was your plan to have that Russian family there? And Snyder was like, what Russian family?
What?
So that means Dostoevsky, like that's a Whedon edition and stuff. And I was like, yeah, what would you rather have? Like more character development for Steppenwolf for Cyborg, or this
just
Russian family?
Literally like almost
living in the
10
middle of
minutes
fucking nowhere.
focused on this Russian family trying to board up their house, worrying about food because the parademons are there. It seems really kind of
it's like the mother from Age of Ultron with her little boy and stuff.
Yeah, it's an audience surrogate where you don't really feel that much threat for them because they're never really in that much danger. I felt like they were in more danger. Like the little girl was in more danger when the Flash got them all in a truck and started speeding really fast. And
what if she just falls out?
Yeah, I was like, is she gonna get hereditary? Like, is this gonna go bad?
Yeah,
No.
and
the Flash comes back, it's like, hey, everybody, you're on, and it's just full of skeletons.
Yeah. Do you? Let's talk about some. What are the things that don't work in this movie?
Well, since we're at the end, I mean, essentially, like everything leads up. They've got to go get the mother box.
Also, they cut out a scene that is finished, which I didn't show you the Comic-Con trailer. The scene where Superman comes to Alfred.
Interesting.
And there's the part where he goes, "Let us hope." Because this is like when they were really trying to say this movie's going to be positive and it's going to be all about hope and it's going to be so lighthearted. You guys are going to lose your minds. And like he comes to Alfred and he goes, "You must be Alfred." And he goes, "Master Kent." And he goes, "Master Wayne told me you'd be here. Let us hope that you are not too late." And then he takes off. Also, a finished Snyder scene of Superman going to get his suit. Because he doesn't have it.
He doesn't have it.
He just shows up with it.
No, he just has it.
He goes to the scout ship and you see the black suit behind him, and then you see him take there's another thing opens up and you don't know what it is, and he comes out with another classic suit on.
Right, because
Snyder says, like in my version, he has the black suit.
Right,
So he looks at this and he goes, "That's interesting," and then like when we don't see it, he just grabs the black one behind him.
It's the death and return of Superman.
Essentially,
90s.
Yeah,
They
so
said he
those-
doesn't have a big old mullet.
Yeah, so those were cut out, and so we're at the end. I cut you off. What were you saying?
So there's also this little, not really a subplot. Well, it kind of is inconsequential. Where in the opening we see Ma Kent sells the house at Smallville, which is like called something else. It's like Corinth or something. It's someplace in Kansas.
Yeah.
Amy Adams, Lois is able to kind of bring him back to his senses, and they kind of have like this little away time for him to get his sort of soul back together. That's where it has that awful green screen that looks very painful. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
I didn't
And
care
his
about
mouth
that.
when he smiles, you're like, what is that?
That's a hidden mustache there. That scene didn't matter to
Also,
me
in
at all.
Snyder's version, that scene takes longer. It takes him a long time to get back to like his memories and like where he is and stuff.
That makes sense. You know that.
And
There's usually
apparently-
more rumination in that.
Apparently, there is a scene. There's supposed to be a scene where the way Lois calms him down is she gives him the speech from Man of Steel. It's like, "Can you hear my voice?" And he goes, "Yes." He goes, "Pretend you're on an island in the middle of the ocean."
Oh,
He goes,
yeah.
"Can you see it?" It's a nice little callback to that. That's not in there.
That kind of completes that connection between the two of them because
Yeah, and-
she's part of what makes him human. But there's actually a really great line because they bring Superman back because Bruce is like, I can't lead them.
Yeah.
He's more human than me. He got married, you know, like he had a job, he had a relationship, he had a family. Like he's the real human to lead this.
I think that's pretty good as well.
Yeah.
I like-
Affleck's got some really good scenes in it. He's not in it as much as I'd like, but
Yeah,
they got to make
he's-
room for everybody else.
And his action sequences leave much to be desired, I would say, especially the end. He's just shooting a gun, kind of boring.
He comes in on a bat spider
Yeah.
thing. I'm not sure what that thing was.
The Nightcrawler or whatever.
Yeah,
Alfred, I need the Nightcrawler.
I need the Nightcrawler. I'm like, that just looks kind of like a space spider
Yeah.
sort of deal.
thought it was
It's neat.
alright.
It's neat, but it doesn't make much sense.
Just like the John Peters 1990 Superman movie with Nicolas Cage.
Hey,
He needs
maybe
to
that's
fight
what it is.
He needs
Maybe
to
it's a
fight
giant spider. He needs to fight. What does Kevin Smith say? Snargarian snare beast or
Yeah,
something.
something like that. Call it something ridiculous, but it's a spider.
And then it shows up in Wild Wild West. So I'm trying to think of anything else in between, kind of hitting all the marks. Since we're talking about Batman for a minute, J.K. Simmons in a wonderful but totally undercut role in this goes all out being Commissioner Gordon.
Level 10 Gordon or whatever.
He looks awesome.
They cut out a line from him. If you notice, it's in the trailer.
Yeah,
He
it's in the trailer.
It's good to see you working well with others again. They cut out the word again in this movie because it implies that he had Robins or whatever,
right?
Which I thought was a needless thing to snip out. Let him say it. It doesn't make your runtime any longer.
But they really went through this with a mincer.
Yeah, he's great. And the thing is you can tell a lot of these reshoots. Like there's parts where like Affleck's face was was not, I don't want to be mean, but they took like months off and then brought him back for reshoot, so he wasn't in as good shape. He was a little like pudgy around like his face or cheeks or whatever, and like and Cavill's mustache gives a lot of it away.
Yeah, because he was very busy working through Fallout, Mission Impossible Fallout, which he's bringing back the mustache in that movie. He's great in that movie.
And when you see like those scenes, it kind of gives away how much is reshot. You didn't even see the scene. There's a scene where Flash meets Iris West. And you didn't see it because I didn't show you that trailer, but he pokes through the glass in slow mo, and the glass like shatters and stuff. It's kind of cool.
Wow.
It's a half finished like CGI'd scene where he saves Iris West from like a car crash or something. So little things like that in there.
That's not there.
Yeah, Kirstie Clemens is supposed to be in it, and she's not in the movie at all.
Nope. Nothing. Not a thing.
But
so talking about other things, so all of this leads up to the finale. We might as well go ahead and just wrap it up.
Yeah.
There's really the only thing left is like nitpicky little scenes.
Yeah. We'll do like little things we like, little things we didn't at the very end.
Yeah.
This.
So it's the big battle in the Russian village. You showed me one of the Comic-Con trailer, the first, where the color coding and everything is a lot darker. They turn it into, by the theatrical cut, into this red bulbous very almost otherworldly sort of thing, and then there's a lot of purple tentacles just kind of coming out and everything.
That's not in Snyder's version, I don't think.
It doesn't make much sense because it's not established what these things do other than cause destruction and get in the way.
Yeah, because it's not something that like exists on Apocalypse. Apocalypse is just giant fire pits and desolation. There's no like, and purple things come out of the ground.
It felt like with the red skies and the all that, I felt like Ganon was around the corner. It felt very like Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, it feels like an attempt to make it look more alien.
Yeah.
But like you don't need to make it look alien.
No,
make it look terrible and hellish.
Yeah, which is like that's kind of the point. A lot of fighting in this last part. A lot of it felt very. It felt, some of it felt too much, some of it felt too less.
Yeah.
It just
there
felt
are
like
there are moments that I like.
I mean, most of this is just good little action sequences that are fun, as opposed to narrative sort of deal, because it really kind of just comes in when Superman shows up.
Yeah.
And you get that moment where you're just kind of like, yeah, I'm thinking because of no context that Steppenwolf's never dealt with a Kryptonian, so he's about to get bowled over.
Yeah, but he seems to be, and again, this is like, and they cut that line out, like the line of no lanterns, no Kryptonians. I wanted more references to Green Lanterns in this movie, because they are the cosmic space force. Their job is to monitor these things.
They would have seen this and been like, send a patrol.
Yeah, where's Hal and John? Send them down there. But he seems to know that Superman's death was a big deal, and like that's what leaves this world defenseless. So when Superman comes back, you think he would be like, "Shit!"
Right.
But he doesn't.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I would like to see, like, I would be very interested to see. I'll tell you like the end of how, now we're here, like the way Steppenwolf was killed because he is killed in the Zack's version as well.
You don't get. The vibe I got after this is, one, we don't get a real idea who's teleporting Steppenwolf around. I just assume it's him.
At the end, he's teleported up.
He's teleported
by
up.
What? He has no mother boxes.
And I was just thinking, like, you were talking about the parademons, wouldn't turn on their boss.
No.
Which felt very convenient. I was like, oh, it's like reaching that fear theme, but it feels very thin. I'm like, Steppenwolf's being sent up, and like, Darkseid's basically going to give him the "you failed me" situation. That's what it came into my head, is like he's being called back to the boss, and the boss is like, well, you screwed up, you're fired, which means you're dead.
But we don't get that.
No,
which would have been
we
great.
get his helmet falling, which I'm just kind of like,
all right,
okay. So anyway, what's
Wonder Woman cuts his head off.
All right.
She says, I stand for truth and love, but if you try to kill my truth and love, then I will strike you down with righteous fury or whatever. And then Aquaman comes up behind him, gives him the and like throws him to Wonder Woman, and she delivers the coup de grace, and then the head rolls, and like a boom tube opens up, and the head rolls to Darkseid. And you see, when the boom tube opens up, you see Darkseid and the whole pantheon of, like, the Apocalyptian new gods. Like, you see, like, the Furies behind him and stuff. They're, like, shrouded in shadow or something.
Right, but they essentially
and
just,
he steps on the head. I don't know if I can't remember if he tries to come through or not, but it's, like, that's, at the end, that's what you see when, like, there's a big shot that Snyder shared online. It's all of them looking at something, and I'm like, they're definitely looking at a boom tube, and Darkseid's inside there. Or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's how it ends there. There's a bunch that's taken out of that final battle, from Barry time traveling to Cyborg's vision, and there's apparently, like, instead of using the gun, Batman just straight up, like, warehouses, like, a bunch of parademons by himself.
Which would be dope.
Which would be preferable to, like, just him shooting a gun. Like, I'm not anti-Batman using a gun when he's
not
fighting.
This Batman.
When he's fighting, not this one.
Not fighting alien wasp humans.
Yeah,
like
you're like, these are meant to be disposable. They're like Nazis. You're allowed to just. Yeah, they're stormtroopers.
They're just evil, but they don't have personalities. They're orcs. It doesn't matter. Yeah, they're less than orcs, because even orcs have dialogue.
Yeah, these guys, they take their brainwashed monster creatures.
Speaking of, you mentioned a line that Wonder Woman said. What did you think about that line about when Superman comes back and he's just like, I'm all about truth, and I'm also a big fan of justice too?
I think it's awful. Yeah, think about it.
Yeah, it sucked. That felt really weird. I think there's a couple of for all the good moments, which a lot of them feel like Snyder moments when they do feel like moments, and then
there's
humor
very little of him in this movie, so like it's if there are good ones, there are possibilities of like that's a Joss Whedon scene. I like it. I like Flash and Cyborg pounding around when they dig the grave.
Yeah,
but I know Snyder has a version where they're all there talking. So like
but that is the scene I really like, is getting to see these two kind of being like, we're part of the new contingency and we're not born with this.
Yeah,
we were forced upon it.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with just having Superman show up and be like, I'm all business, baby.
Yeah,
like, you don't need to be like, I'm here and now everything's fine. Like or even like the part where he's up there with Batman. He's like, well, no, you didn't bring me back because you like me. And Batman's like, I don't not. And I'm like, that's so bad. I hate that. Like you don't need to say anything.
Right.
Obviously, Batman brought you back. Batman is giving you the mea culpa already. You don't need to address it or whatever.
Because you do get one scene that I feel like would have been better if there was more to it, but it also just how Cavill plays Superman is this idea of just like, you won't let me, you wouldn't let me live, and now you won't let me die. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's got some stuff in it.
That's not bad.
That's pretty. I would love if the movie took a moment to deal with that. Like, why didn't you leave me dead? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty dark.
And
but it doesn't really.
They get another scene like that at the end, where like what happens is, like, at the end, Batman buys his mom's house back.
Yes,
and it's a Snyder scene because there's no mustache, and he says like, I can't thank you enough for what you did. And he goes, I just undid a mistake. And he goes, how did you get the house from the bank? And he goes, I bought the bank. So I was like, that's good. And that's fine enough for me.
Yeah, that Bruce will do that.
And I feel like the end, like at no point, like, I can't get excited enough about anything in this movie to be like, I loved that, and I can't get like angry enough at anything to be like, that's. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think are dumb. Steppenwolf stealing like the mother box at the end, as opposed to like killing Cyborg's dad and like making it like a real heavy emotional thing.
Instead, it is literally yoink. Yeah. And then Steppenwolf just being hoisted off.
Yeah.
To no.
Yeah. Everything is it's the Disney death where a guy falls down the canyon or whatever. It might as well be that.
Yeah. He might as well just disappear. It's Scar getting trounced by hyenas at the end.
And I'm like, again, I've had this talk before. There's nothing wrong with your heroes like killing their enemies sometimes. I don't have a problem with it. And there's the Flash never gets like he gets one dope scene where he runs around the tunnel and he pokes Wonder Woman's sword.
That's pretty
back.
Cool. It did kind of recall.
And then they end it with him falling on like Wonder Woman's boobs and stuff, which I was like, that's really dumb.
That's really dumb.
I hate it.
It did kind of recall the sequence in Days of Future Past, the time in a bottle with Quicksilver.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that scene's excellent. Like that's one of my favorite little moments in a superhero movie. And so I was like, I get why you're doing that. You don't have control over a slow motion, super fast speed. It works because it's a great action sequence. He pops that sword back, she grabs it, takes that Parademon in half.
Yeah.
I'm like, dope. That's good. There are good scenes of working together that I feel sometimes even do better than I think back like to the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Where them working together feels a lot forced. It's kind of like because there's such a disparagement of power between the Avengers, it's a little more everyone's a little more equal. In the Justice League.
Yeah, when Aquaman and Wonder Woman are fighting Steppenwolf, I felt like these guys are about even, and it kind of makes it for when Wonder Woman is fighting Steppenwolf, those are like pretty entertaining. Yeah, for the most part,
and good color effects because you see like the effect of her sword. His Steppenwolf's axe is always kind of illuminated in amber.
Yeah, it has like an after image every time he strikes.
That's pretty neat.
That's cool.
That's a good visual. There is one joke I have kind of liked, but it feels a little obvious. It does feel very Whedon, very tongue-in-cheek, is every time he talks to Aquaman, he's like, I need you. You can talk to fish, right?
Yeah. And I was like, I would have been like, see, those are the things that I would have been like, are you trying to tell me that Aquaman is cool, or are you trying to tell me that he's a joke? Right,
because that is the old joke to always undercut Aquaman for years. It's like, oh, he talks to fish.
And I would have been like, I don't have a problem with Bruce Wayne doing it because he goes like, I hear you talk to fish. And then like the part where he goes, do you talk to fish? Now it makes Bruce Wayne look like an idiot because do you have these answers? Like, do you know everything and have it all Batmaned out, or are you just like guessing with the rest of us? I like it when he does it the first time. I don't like it
the second time where he's like, do you?
And he says like the water does the talking or something like that. Yeah. Not explained in Aquaman. That's not true. He straight up just boom, 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 boom. He talks to fish in Aquaman. It's
Jason
cool.
Momoa is a lot of fun in this. He
also,
does have
we
a
don't
great.
Get a moment. We should have gotten a moment where he does like. There's a great moment in a comic book where one of the villains is fighting Aquaman and he gives him a big long spiel. He gives him the monologue and Aquaman starts doing like this. While he's by some water, then a big Jurassic World creature comes out
and eats him,
just like thrashes him.
That'd be dope.
Like, that would have been great if while he was being like the parody would like get your hands up or whatever.
Yeah, and he would just
been like,
and then a shark
just
just
squids
pops out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
He does have a great line. Don't know who he says it to, but he's threatening somebody, and he's like, "If you do that again, I'll introduce you to every piranha I know."
Yeah,
I was like, "That's pretty funny."
That was all right.
So we've already talked in the last episode. So the movie's over at this point. We get one little scene of
Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor escapes from Arkham.
Great scene,
because you see like a bald guy in there, and the guy's like, "Lex, come on, da da da," and it's just some crazy guy. Lex is hanging out on a nice big 90 like it's about to be a 90s music video on his yacht.
Yeah,
and
Deathstroke the Terminator
Deathstroke is so dope. Comes in, should have been in the movie at least once.
Apparently, there is a scene where he breaks Lex out. The Snyder version is he breaks Lex out of jail. Which is way cooler.
Yeah, having him set up beforehand, way better because it's cool to see him. But again, you're without context if you don't know anything about him. Yeah, because. You get him, and he takes the helmet off, and he looks. Who is the actor again?
Joe Manganiello.
Joe Manganiello
from True Blood, and he's also in. He was in like Rampage recently. What is he in? He's in the Magic Mike movies. He plays one of the strippers in the Magic Mike movies.
Well, he looks really great. He's Silver Fox with the eye patch. He looks like Big Boss.
He looks like quintessential Deathstroke. Maybe you give him a bigger beard or something like that.
Yeah, because he kind of borders a little bit on Cable.
Yeah,
but. He has that line, which I think works real well for Lex Luthor. Shouldn't we have a league of our own?
Yeah.
Obviously, you've told me that the Snyder scene is very different.
Well, the Snyder scene, because the scene, if you watch closely, the part where Jesse Eisenberg says we need to level the playing field, then it's a close up on his face. That's all green screen behind him. They just brought him into a green screen studio, shaved his head, and said, "Can you say we need a league of our own?"
Yeah.
And then boom. So the rest of that is all Snyder. Like I'm pretty 99% sure the rest of that is like Snyder did it.
Yeah, because feels like
we've seen Snyder like with Joe Manganiello on set, so we know he was there for those scenes.
Right.
So I was like,
because the first time you see him, it almost feels like a Christopher Nolan shot a little bit because it's kind of like Twilight. And it's like a shot. He's coming up on a speedboat, and you just see the swords from behind. It feels very Nolan-y.
It does,
which kind of works.
Yeah, and I was I think Yeah, it's great. I tolerate the Superman Flash race. I think my problem with this
It's
movie,
just funny.
yeah, it's a nice throwaway or whatever.
Yeah,
but
it's
I
a nice
think,
mid-credit sequence.
the problem I have with this movie is it is the definition of disposable. It's not meant to stay with you. And some people maybe want their superhero movies to be kind of light-hearted, fun, disposable things. I'm not allergic to fun, but after like Man of Steel, a movie that I love, and Batman v Superman, a movie that I quite revere, this feels like a huge step down for me. And the level
It is
of
a tonal cliff that it falls off
yeah,
of.
and like there is a level of epicness to Batman v Superman that this does not seem to have. It has moments. The history scene is the closest one that I'm like, that feels like something that is a predecessor to Batman v Superman or whatever. Like the moment where like what's a good one? The moment where Cyborg or whatever is like talks to his dad. It feels like a much more sober and like simple, serious conversation.
Again, like I do like this movie.
Yeah.
I just feel like by the end of the movie and the general through line of the plot, I don't care that much.
Yeah.
I care more about these characters because you've got a lot of good characters and each of them are performed very well.
But there's really paper thin development. There's not a lot of like time for them to like get to know each other really. And
again, the lack of cohesion sort of there ends up being like, that's why I was like, oh, it just feels like Cyborg's movie, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, and apparently it is even more Cyborg's movie than it is here.
Yeah, because it's kind of like when I saw Endgame, I was like, Endgame and Infinity War, I was like, oh, this movie feels like it's more belongs to this character. Like I was like, Infinity War, I'm like, this feels like a Guardians movie more than anything else. Like because they're integral to the plot and you get a lot of time with them.
Yeah,
this feels.
I would say Infinity War is like it's Thanos' movie.
Well, it is Thanos' movie. Yeah, but this movie is certainly not Steppenwolf's movie.
No, and it should be. I would love a scene where he like Darkseid is like, if you come back and you fail me, like you're donezo. And I would like him to be. I want a villain who's scared and who's like
but
kind of like a
can't show
rabid
that
wolf.
fear to his adversaries.
Right. And apparently that's what he was going for with Steppenwolf. And apparently there's the thing about Steppenwolf is a lot of it is done mocap through a stunt guy. So not a lot of it is
Ciarán Hinds.
Like Ciarán Hinds did do mocap, but in the movie it just says voice Steppenwolf, Ciarán Hinds or whatever. So I was like, I wonder how different that's going to be, because that's the thing that will change it for me. I don't have a problem with like there being some jokes in there, but I do have a problem with like,
because you're adding new elements, and a lot of these characters are younger and more kind of fun loving and everything. I mean, most of the humor goes to Ezra Miller because he does so well with it. But then the next funniest character is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Like, or I mean, even Aquaman doesn't really have a lot of jokes. He is just kind of a stoic badass.
Cool. He's
but
fun and cool.
He's just kind of like.
Like like in the movie when he was like, my man. I was like, yeah, that's what I want.
When he finally is like, fine, I'll get involved, he's just finishes off a bottle of Jack and just tosses it and jumps himself into the ocean.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's his character. I dig that.
I think the problem is like humor is it's very dicey in a movie like this because again, I want if you look at like the Flash and BVS, Bruce, you have to find us, and then you go to this Flash, like the sense of urgency is gone.
That's from a different movie.
And also like there's that scene in the trailer where Bruce says, I think it's something more, something darker. That's the scene where Bruce, he doesn't even reference the fact that like Barry Allen is 3 feet away from him. And he goes, oh, by the way, you came to me one time after this terrifying nightmare I had and said that I had to find Lois Lane and she was the key and it kept me up for like a week or whatever.
He doesn't even I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like, I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Completely, dropped entirely.
And like, apparently there is a scene where he's talking to Wonder Woman and he says, Barry Allen was here, right here. And he came to me and she said that Lois Lane is the key. And she goes, oh, she is for Superman. Every heart has one. He goes, no, I think it's something more, something darker. Like we start alluding.
Oh, that's what that scene was supposed to be. Okay.
Because you notice when Ben Affleck says it, he's in his Batman suit.
Yes.
It's after they've had like probably their first scrap as the Justice League or whatever. And I'm like, there's little things like that, the connective tissue to these other movies, which this movie is like a hard right turn. It's like we're bringing in jokes. We're like bringing in lighter color grading. We're bringing in like more like
safe.
Disposable villains. It's a safe, disposable. I don't hate this movie. I nothing this movie. Like
that's fair. I do see myself.
Keep in mind, I have watched it probably more times than I would than I actually would like to.
Right.
Just because I've been like, I need an empty thing. And there are parts of it I like. There are pieces of it that I think are great. Mostly I watch it for like, when's that dope history scene coming up? Like
Right.
when are we getting like the Superman fights everybody scene? When are we getting like, I watch it for like a lot of moments. I don't watch it for anything other than that.
I think going back to like Birds of Prey, it does seem like that sort of thing where if it was on TV, I'd leave it on.
Yeah.
But I'd also be doing something else.
Exactly. I wouldn't give it my attention.
Yeah. But I'd turn the volume up a little bit and then I'd come back to it occasionally.
You'd make snacks for it?
Yeah, I'd make snacks for it.
I'm just waiting for you to make more addendums
cooking,
to this list.
Yeah, if I was...
I'd turn on the subtitles so I could see it from the other side.
Right. Well, but that's kind of where it is. But I'm glad I was able to finally watch it. I'd see myself watching it again because I that first half, at least the first 2 acts, I liked.
Yeah.
By the third act, I don't care as much because it involves the plot. I don't care about the plot.
Also, Superman arrives and nerfs the entire movie by like he beats Steppenwolf like nothing.
Yeah, which makes sense, but
it makes sense, but I think there's a way to do it writing wise that is not so
not
immediately deflated.
Not a Superman action figure enters the frame, hits the Steppenwolf action figure, and he falls over, and he's gone.
Yeah, a good example would be like. I don't know. Like Dragon Ball Z does a good example of like I remember watching like season 2 or season 3.
Is this like
when they're fighting like Frieza and stuff?
So it's Goku's doing all his training and everything, and because I remember, well, yeah, it's sort of that deal where he comes back. After he's been
like he got like really hardcore beaten up by Captain Ginyu. And he has to be revived.
Okay, this is after that.
Yeah, he has to be revived by the rejuvenation chamber, and Vegeta's about to be killed by Frieza, and he comes up, and Goku like ghosts Frieza real quick, and he gets the better of him real quick. I'd like it to be like that. Like Steppenwolf's not fucking around here, and like Superman is like he's stronger, but maybe just by a hair.
Right. It's enough that it's going to be a raw fight.
And apparently, this is something, when Superman comes back, he has freeze breath.
Yes.
Which he does not exhibit in the first 2 movies.
No, he doesn't.
And that is a Snyder thing. I think that particular shot is a Whedon thing, but Snyder always intended that when Superman comes back from his death,
he is
powers. More powerful.
Right.
And he is like he's gone through his crucible.
Right. Because he's getting the same treatment that Zod got, because it's essentially the Zod ship has now become like this research facility.
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of. And except instead of turning into a spiked, horrible doomsday monster, they do it right. And so they just return him essentially back from his state. And it's just like, he just has amnesia and he reacts violently.
Yeah,
like an
also,
animal.
apparently in the movie, it's discussed that he's not dead. The codex in him from the Man of Steel is keeping him alive. And Cyborg discovers that. And then the rest of, you notice the rest of the resurrection scene has previous music from the other movies. It has like the Planet Krypton music or whatever from.
Yeah, I noticed.
Which is because
some
that is
leitmotifs that were a little familiar.
Also, Danny Elfman's score is bland and forgettable, and I don't like it. Even
I saw that the criticism for the score.
Yeah, even with the 1989's Batman theme is in here. I'm like, it's not enough. And I was like,
it's cute.
But that scene unfolds pretty much. Snyder says like exactly the same way, or from what people have told him. So, I don't have anything else to say.
Yeah.
There's so much we could talk about this movie. Like we were going to be getting into a lot more of it. As probably more. I'm sure like a trailer for the Snyder Cut or whatever will be released. We'll parse through that
because that saga will continue throughout the year, and so as we do other movies coming up, we'll obviously talk back to it.
Yeah. Oh, and there's an actor named Sam Benjamin who a lot of people think plays Hal Jordan in this movie. He is supposed to be. We didn't even talk about like Martian Manhunter and the Harry Lennox and stuff, but there's an actor named Sam Benjamin, and he said like, oh, my scene was cut from Joss Whedon's movie, and people sent him like a person sent him like a Green Lantern mini figure or whatever, and he's like, hey, is this you? And he goes like, he just gave it a little green heart emoji underneath it. So like, I think they set the seeds for that in this movie too.
Okay.
Not to mention Ryan Choi is the Atom is in this movie as one of Joe Morton's lab assistants and stuff. So like that's not
I noticed that he got a lot of focus, I think. Yeah.
So there's like little things like that in here. I just have a tough time imagining me ever liking this movie more than what we're going to get.
Yeah,
but we will
I
see.
mean, it's going to be a big, like, well, we're going to put that over here and get the new edition.
Again, to be fair, a lot of people really shit on that movie. Like I don't hate it. I nothing it. It's fine. It's inoffensive.
It's
but
whelming, but it's not underwhelming or overwhelmed.
It's just I think it's because I expected deep themes and giant grandiosity like in BVS. I expected like the score when Batman and Superman fight is like a huge choral, like it's like two gods fighting. But here it's just like here's my generic superhero score. Yep. Like here's a weird CGI lip. Here's a disposable villain. Here's a 2-hour movie that's paced exactly like this, and there's no ebbs and flows. And like, everything is kind of
very jarring
fine.
And very safe. Yeah. But it's not that bad.
No.
But I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad to have finally watched it. We now can kind of get some context coming up as more information drops.
Right.
Now coming up, I will make that decision.
Yeah.
Obviously right now, with movie studios or movie theaters closed, cinemas closed. I'm taking a look at what's going to come out on all the VOD and all the streaming.
Or
and,
maybe an oldie.
What's that?
Maybe an oldie. Maybe we'll talk about 12 Angry Men by Sidney Lumet.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Talk about Network. Talk about
a great movie.
Prescient Sidney Lumet films.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll think of something for our next time.
Yeah.
I think right now, my next film I'm going to be watching, Uncut Gems by the Safdie brothers. It just came out on Netflix.
I need to see it.
It just came out on Netflix this week, and I've been waiting to watch it so I didn't have to pay for it. And
Nice.
so I'm going to give Adam Sandler's harrowing performance from an A24 film a watch.
Oh, yeah, it is an A24,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Well, that's why I got shafted by the Oscars. I've come up with this theory that the Oscars hate A24 and
Because they keep trying to make good stuff.
Yeah, well, they make great film, and they're just like,
I will not.
we're not going to give it to these young bucks.
Hereditary.
No, and so
that Green Knight movie is A24. When's that? Is that still coming out? It better be.
if November is going to be a thing, then yeah, that dope. That movie looks great.
I want that movie to be like just all like I want like some killer sword fights and scary green monster people and stuff.
And there's also another A24 horror called Saint Maud that looks really interesting.
It's has Robin Wright Penn in it or something?
I think so.
Yeah.
It looks really unnerving.
Yeah.
So next time we meet in the studio, it'll be my programming, and I think I'm wanting to do like two, like a back to back.
Okay.
Because I want to do something that's kind of been like maybe that's going viral right now or getting some new interest, and then something new. So that's gonna be on my radar.
All right. Well, this has been a bonus episode for the Movie Date with Rob and Matt, a podcast for people who like movies but don't want to be too smug about it. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave likes and comments. If you have anything you want us to watch, let us know. We might do it, unless it's really terrible. And no, then we're not
a bad movie.
We're not gonna do it.
We're not a bad movie podcast.
And then
as fun as those are, there's plenty of those.
Plenty of those. You can go to one of the other ones. But we should be up on iTunes shortly. And thank you guys for listening. Bye bye.
We'll see you next time. Bye bye.